Hello and welcome to Inside Iraq. I'm Jassim Azzawi. Many unsuccessful attempts have been made to try former President Bush and Prime Minister Blair as war criminals. Lawsuits have been lodged in the Belgian and Icelandic courts, but to no avail. Supporters of the invasion of Iraq dismiss these lawsuits as frivolous. Critics of the war charge the two men will escape justice simply because they are considered above the law. Britain is signatory to the International Criminal Court, but the U.S. is not. But even if the U.S. is a member, can anyone imagine Bush and Blair in the docks? Certainly not. Tonight we ask, is justice the property of the stronger? Is this a case of might makes right?
7 years after the invasion of Iraq, questions are still being asked at the highest of levels. A British inquiry headed by Sir John Chilcot was recently in the US to hold discussions with leading American figures involved in the invasion and occupation of Iraq. The proceedings were held behind closed doors, away from the television cameras. The UK-Iraq inquiry team met with Paul Bremer, George Bush's former pro-consul in Iraq, who ushered in the controversial policy of de-Baathification. Former US ambassador to Iraq, Ryan Crocker, also met the panel. The independent inquiry into the UK's involvement in Iraq was commissioned by former Prime Minister Gordon Brown in June 2009 and is expected to report later this year. Questions about the legality and the morality of the war on Iraq persist.
Down Blair! Down Blair!
And there is a growing and widespread call for action to bring to account those Western leaders many feel are responsible. The internet provides a taste of some of this activism, with one site offering a financial reward to anyone attempting a peaceful citizen's arrest of the former British Prime Minister.
To discuss whether former President Bush and Prime Minister Blair should be tried as war criminals, I'm joined from New York City by Brad Blakeman, a political commentator and former senior White House aide during the Bush administration, and from Cairo by former Egyptian diplomat Ambassador Hassan Isa. Gentlemen, welcome to Inside Iraq. Ambassador Hassan Isa, a simple question. Why should former President Bush and Prime Minister Blair should be tried as war criminals?
We have a million reasons in the form of a million annihilated Iraqis by the American decision to invade Iraq. I have 4 million reasons in the form of 4 million displaced Iraqis inside and outside Iraq. I have a country that is completely destroyed beyond repair, because of the decision made by President Bush, ex-President Bush, and his follower, Prime Minister Blair, who still insist that they were right up to this day. This is a disgrace in the face of humanity, and it is about time that somebody calls both of them to be tried as war criminals.
Brad Blakeman, you heard the man. He called your former boss, President Bush, a war criminals. His indictment is not limited to Ambassador Hassan Isa. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions, in the Arab world, in Africa and Latin America, as well as part of Europe, they consider former President Bush and Prime Minister Blair as war criminals. Are they all wrong?
Yes, they are. There are hundreds of millions who think that President Bush and Prime Minister Blair and our coalition partners did exactly the right thing. Where was the outrage with Saddam's regime, who punished his own people, prevented people from voting, killed people, raped people, in fact used weapons of mass destruction against his own people? Where was the outrage? And let me say this. We couldn't have done this successfully.
Mr. Blackman, you're still talking about weapons of mass destruction. This doesn't exist. It never existed.
Yes, but let me conclude my point. Let me conclude my point.
Oh, my goodness.
Let me conclude my point. And my point is this. We could not have been successful in removing Saddam Hussein without our Middle East partners. If you're going to indict Prime Minister Blair and President Bush, then you must indict as well the Emir of Qatar. We have our largest base there. Without our Middle East partners, like the Saudi government, we could not have been successful. Without the King of Jordan, without Egypt. There are many Middle Eastern countries who encouraged us to take the action we did against Saddam. In fact, they gave us aid to do so.
How
So if
about
you're
that,
going to
Ambassador
indict
Hassan
the
Issa?
Prime
Let us just
Minister of
reveal-
England
sake,
and
for
President Bush,
heaven's
you
sake.
must indict them as well.
For heaven's sake, whoever encouraged you to annihilate 1 million human beings in Iraq? Whoever encouraged you to displace 4 million Iraqis? Whoever encouraged you to destroy a country, an Arab country? You cannot blame Arab countries for supporting
We freed
you.
an Arab country,
we never
my friend.
supported President
We freed
Bush.
an Arab country. Tens of millions of people are now free because of the action that the United States, Britain, and our coalition partners. Where's the indictment
Free where,
of
Mr.
the 30 or
Blackman?
so nations that
Free
joined us in
where?
this
Where?
effort?
Free in Iraq? Free in Iraq? Where you say
Yes, free in Iraq.
where almost
yes,
100
sir.
to 150
free
people
elections.
slain
free
every
from
day?
tyranny. Yes. We are
Ambassador,
proud of what
Tyranny
we
now,
did,
they are
and if
suffering
we
from
had
the
to do it
tyranny
over
of the
again, we'd
American
do it again.
forces in Iraq.
We thank the Emir of Qatar. We thank the President of Egypt. We thank the King of Jordan. We thank the Saudis.
I am sure
We
the
thank
list is very
the
long,
people
Brad
in
Blakeman.
Kuwait.
Many Arab countries, they consented, if not given the green light for this invasion,
They
to
were-
their
they were
chagrin
our
and to
partners.
their regrets
No,
right
sir.
They
now.
were our-
Ambassador Hassan Issa,
Yes,
you
yes.
have a bone to pick with Brad Blakeman and the people who espouse his views. But let me ask you, why don't you listen to what President Bush said? He said he did not invade Iraq simply because he wanted to. He was told by God. He said, by providence. Providence gave me the
It was
green
what?
light.
Please, no. Please repeat this again because I can't believe what you said.
He
What did
said,
you say?
he said, the providence gave me the green light to launch this war. God talked to him to say, this is the righteous course.
Oh, my
Guys, please,
goodness.
don't take his words out of context. Come on. You know better than that.
Are you kidding me?
We operate under a
Honest
rule
to
of
God,
law.
are you kidding me? Are you joking? No, please
No, I'm
answer
not
me.
joking.
Is
We
somebody
operate under
joking
rule of
here?
law, unlike the person we removed from power, a brutal dictator. Where is the outrage on your part, what Saddam has done to his country, to his people? Where is the outrage for that, Mr. Ambassador? You don't have it because you have one single
you
issue,
removed-
and that
you
is to
removed
attack
the
George
dictator
Bush and
you
Tony Blair.
replaced him by 150,000 dictators.
Oh, come
150,000
on.
American
It's a free
troops
country, my
are
friend.
now...
It's a free country.
Ambassador Hassan Issa, let us go to what
Yes.
Blair said, and that is in an interview to the BBC to Fred Britton. He said, if he is given the chance again, knowing full well that Iraq does not have WMDs, he would still do it again. Does that strike you as a strong conviction, or does that strike you as a hubris? Somebody, a man who is not willing to admit that he made a mistake. And more importantly than that, the million souls that they perish in this war, to him it means absolutely nothing. How do you look at a comment by Blair like that?
This is sheer arrogance. This is sheer arrogance that is refused. That is typical of a mentality of the British Empire that is over now. Sheer arrogance. He wants to repeat what he did again. He wants to destroy another Arab country again. Oh my goodness. I can't believe what he said.
Blakeman, what about Blair's position? He would do it all over again gladly, knowing full well it will kill 1 million people, and knowing full well
Absolutely.
Iraq has no WMDs.
We didn't kill 1 million people. You know that. This is all propaganda. And again, if you want to go after the United States and Tony Blair, then you better go after the Emir of Qatar, the Saudi family, the Jordanians, the Egyptians, the Kuwaitis. They all joined us in this effort. As a matter of fact, we could not have done it without them. We used bases in their country.
You said
Don't
that,
you-
and
don't
you said
know
it
that we have one
twice,
of our
Brad
largest
Blakeman.
bases
But let
in
me ask
Qatar?
you something.
They could have shut off the oil. There's a lot of
you
things
are
they could have
disputing
done.
the figures of the dead. But let me refer you to the Lancet that was commissioned by Johns Hopkins University. At the time when it was commissioned, at the height of the bloodletting in 2006, it says 780,000 people already dead. This is one of the most respected medical newspaper.
Nonsense. Nonsense. You know it. I know it. The international community has done studies on it. Governments. That is utter propaganda.
We have those displaced people here in Egypt, sir. We have them here in Egypt. We have them all over the Arab countries. Propaganda. They are alive here, still displaced, and they cannot go back to their country.
Tens of millions of people are free
a million
in Iraq.
people killed in Iraq.
Your argument is against freedom. Your argument is against freedom. Our argument is not against freedom. We freed a country.
If this
Iraq
is the kind of
stable and
freedom you mean,
independent
sir,
and will
we
be a
do not
great
want
nation.
it. Sir, if this is the kind
It
of
doesn't
freedom
matter
you
what
mean,
you want,
we
Mr.
do
Ambassador.
not want that kind
It
of
matters
freedom.
what the Iraqis want.
They are going around Baghdad now with the photograph of Saddam Hussein. They want Saddam Hussein back because of what you did in Iraq.
Yeah.
Because of what you did.
No, sir.
They prefer the
They do not
tyranny of
want him
Saddam
back.
Hussein than the annihilation that you did in Iraq. This was not a murder. This was
Nonsense.
annihilation.
Since we are
You
talking
should be ashamed of yourself to say that Saddam Hussein should be back in power to torture and
That's not
maim
what he
and
said.
rape his own people.
That's
and
not what
use
he said.
weapons
He said
against them.
Iraqis, some
Yes,
segment
he
of
is. He said
Iraqis,
the
some
people
segment
would
of
like
Iraqis
tyranny
are
over
longing
freedom.
for Saddam.
That is a utter lie. You know it, and I know it, and the ambassador knows
Let
it.
us move on, and since we are talking about the
Apparently, you're
numbers,
the only one who knows it, Mr. Blackman. This is against even logic. This is against reality. Go around the Arab countries and see the displaced Iraqis
No,
up to
what's-
this day. Go to Baghdad
what's
and
against
see
logic?
the families of the murdered million human
no,
beings
sir.
that were annihilated there.
since we are talking about the numbers, and in his acceptance of the Nobel Prize, the British playwright Harold Pinter said something very important in his scathing attack both on George Bush as well as Tony Blair. He said, what does it make? How many thousands of people dead does it take in order to call somebody a war criminal? So what is the difference between George Bush and Tony Blair and Milosevic? This guy, Milosevic, killed hundreds of thousands. In the case of Blair and Bush, the war they launched caused the death of over 1 million. So how do you call somebody a war criminal?
Jasm, and I'm not going to speak to a playwright. I'm going to speak to somebody who knows.
He's a
not somebody
Nobel
who used an
laureate.
international
He's a
forum
Nobel
to
laureate.
vent his
Harold
own
Pinter is a
beliefs.
great man.
He's a
Brad
playwright.
Blakeman.
He's not a diplomat.
Here you have a diplomat that lived in the area, that is still frequenting the area, and I know what is going on in Baghdad because I was in Baghdad. I lived in Baghdad. Now I visited Baghdad. What I'm telling you is what I heard from Iraqis now. This is a disgrace. This is a disgrace.
Well, I don't know
and
who
this
you're
is what
talking
you did
to,
to the
but
American reputation.
I've spoken to Iraqis. I've spoken to generals. I've spoken to Iraqi officials. And you know what Iraqi officials tell me? They thank us. They not only thank America and England, they thank our Middle East partners, and they thank our European partners, our Asian partners for joining us in freeing Iraq.
Do not kid yourself.
I'm
You
not.
spoke to the Iraqis, the kind of Iraqis that lied to you and lied to your CIA and claimed that the Iraqis will be welcoming your troops with open arms and with roses in their hands. Do not again speak to the Iraqis that gave you the wrong information. Please do not rely on that kind of Iraqi who destroyed their country, and I can give you names. I can give you names of those Iraqis that your CIA paid
Give
over
us the
$20
names.
million
Give us the names right
over a
now.
year to support.
Give us the names, sir.
What you did to Ahmed al-Jilbi. Ahmed al-Jilbi
You have a whole host of
he
names.
gave
Name
you
the
the
names.
information.
He just gave you a name, Ahmed al-Chalabi.
I want to hear the whole host of names that he has that will support his position. Come on, let's go. Give me the names, and I'll do my own
I'm giving
research.
you a name. Just give me an argument now. Didn't Ahmed al-Jilbi convince your
Go ahead.
CIA that Iraq is ready for your troops?
Saddam said in an interview with the FBI over a course of time that he lied about the current possession of weapons of mass destruction. He did it on purpose. He wanted the world to believe he had them, and that's why he wouldn't let the inspectors in. Well, guess what? He bet wrong. The international community came down upon Saddam because he violated international law. That's just too bad for him, but good for the Iraqi people because now they're free.
Hassan Isa, let's go to these lawsuits. Some of them, they were lodged in European capitals like in Belgium, although the Belgian government later on changed the law and made it that whoever wants to sue former head or a president of a country or a prime minister, and if that country is a democratic country, for instance, in this case, the United States and Britain, then they should go and do it in their own country. So there is a double standard here. There is no actually a mechanism to try President Bush or Blair. So why are we hyping on this? Although Britain is a member of the ICC, the United States refused to become a signatory. So where do you go from here, Ambassador Hassan Isa, to bring these two people to justice?
Humanity will be following both of them forever to eternity. History will record that both of them were like Genghis Khan for what they did in Iraq and what they did to the area. They destroyed the area. They destroyed Iraq beyond repair. Up to this day, nobody can repair Iraq. Not even the Americans who destroyed it can find a way to repair it before they move their troops to Afghanistan. Why didn't they move their troops to Afghanistan? Simply because they know that if they move their troops, Iraq will fall apart again. This is for what Bush did and for what Blair did. And Blair is still insisting that he would repeat what he did again. This is sheer arrogance. And what you did is inhumane, what you did in Iraq. Inhumane. Murdering, annihilating 1 million human beings, displacing 4 million human beings. And you're still arguing that you were right. For heaven's sake, please, please spare me.
Look, this guy is on a different planet. I don't know what planet he's on, but certainly the
That
Iraqi
argument
people
could
know what
work
they
the
have. They
other
know
way
they have
around,
freedom.
Brad Blakeman. He
They
could
have
say
free
the
elections.
same
Can I
thing as
finish?
you.
Let me
He
finish.
could say the same
I
thing
am
to you.
Let me
You
finish.
are living a different
Ask me a
planet.
question.
In a different,
You asked
in
me a
different
question, and
planet
now I'm
from
going to
where
answer
you are,
you.
sir.
He is. The Iraqi people are free. They're free to control their own destiny. There is no outrage on the part of the ambassador for the brutality of Saddam Hussein. In fact, I bet the ambassador would like nothing more than to have Saddam Hussein back in power. Well, guess what? He's not coming back because he's been removed from this earth by the people of Iraq. He's now paying for the crimes against his own
Not by
citizens.
the people of
And
Iraq,
if we
by
had
the
to do it
American
over
forces,
again,
Mr.
we'd do it
Blackman,
again.
by the American forces.
Not only the American forces, the Middle Eastern forces helped us as well. We couldn't have done it without the Emir
Never,
of Qatar.
nobody
We couldn't have
in
done
the
it without
Middle
the
East
President of
supported
Egypt,
you.
the Saudi family, the King of Jordan, the Emir of Kuwait.
Let me correct something, Brad Blakeman. This particular war, the 2003 war, unlike the 1991, the rest of the Arab countries was against it. Saudi Arabia, as a matter of fact, refused to let American bombers and American airmen to be stationed in Saudi Arabia. And same did, as well as
That is true, but they gave us support.
Turkey,
They
who's
gave
a
us
member of the
diplomatic
NATO, as
support.
well as Jordan. The only
They-
country,
please,
the only country
Jasm,
that allowed that was
please.
Kuwait and Qatar. And
We
we are the
could
first one
not
to
have
admit
done it without
was
our
Kuwait
Middle Eastern
and
partners.
Qatar.
We couldn't have.
If
You're
you are
wrong.
going to name
You're
names,
absolutely wrong.
If you are going to name names,
You're
be
absolutely
specific.
wrong.
It was
The
Kuwait and Qatar.
Saudi government wanted Saddam removed. The fact that they didn't supply troops, or the fact that they didn't supply bases for us, does not take away from the fact that they wanted nothing more than Saddam removed and supported the United States with quiet diplomacy.
How do you know that the Saudis and the Kuwaitis wanted Saddam to be removed? Why? I mean, you have also a connection with God like Mr. Bush.
You know that as well, Mr. Ambassador, but you won't speak about it. You know full well that we could not have done what we did in our participation with our coalition partners without the Middle East partners. It could not have been done. You know that. And to say that it's not so
no
is
help
a lie.
whatsoever was given to you, sir. No help was ever given to you by any Middle Eastern country. Not a single soldier joined you.
That is
Not
a lie.
Not a single base was in there.
That is a lie.
No, that's true, Brad Blakeman.
No, you better check your facts.
Not a single Arab soldier ever joined you on this war.
That is a shame that no Arab soldiers joined us, but that doesn't take
Because
away
they
from
know
the fact
better.
that our largest base
Because
is
they
in
know
Qatar.
better.
And the fact is that the Emir of Qatar allowed our bases to be used to attack Iraq.
Let me read to you something from the Nuremberg trial. When the judgment was passed in 1946, the following statement was made. It says, "To initiate a war of aggression is the supreme international crime, differing only from other crimes in that it contains within itself the accumulated evil of the whole." So when it comes to crimes, a war of aggression is the absolute crime. Go ahead.
Oh my goodness. What was said in the 40s is good for the 2010. What was said in the 40s exactly applies on what both of them did. Both of them are war criminals. And for heaven's sake, I am forming a society here in Egypt to follow them for eternity. Because those two human beings destroyed a whole country. Those two human beings are responsible for the death, for the annihilation of 1 million human beings. Those two people are responsible for the annihilation of a nation, not to mention those who are displaced up to this day.
I noticed when Ambassador Hassan Isa said he's forming a society to pursue these two people to the very end, you laughed, Brad Blakeman. Why? Is he dreaming?
I did. I laughed. I find this guy totally off base. Again, I don't know where this guy's coming from, but to have a high-ranking former Egyptian ambassador speaking this nonsense is really disrespectful
That
to his
is
own
a reflection
country.
of the
He knows
anger
better.
and the
Blackman,
he
the
knows
nonsense
better.
is
That is a
coming out of
reflection
you.
of the
Look, if he
anger.
wants to spend the rest of his days, going after Tony Blair and Bush, good luck to him. There is no jurisdiction to hold them to account for doing that which the international law asked the president and Blair and our coalition partners and our Middle Eastern partners to do. We removed a dictator. We freed a country.
So far, we do not need. I'm really astonished. I'm really astonished because you introduced Mr. Blackman as one of the media specialists in the United States. Now I know why the media in the United States failed in following up what did in Iraq and removing it and explaining to the American people what really happened. Now I know why the Americans were fooled by what the media, what the American media. I'm seeing a human being like Mr. Blackman, who all what he has to say is that what you're saying is a lie, this is sheer nonsense, this is not the kind of argument that a real media man would say. And it is a pity that I am carrying a conversation like this.
I speak the truth, not what I think the truth should be. That's the big difference between me and you, sir. I speak the truth from fact. You create facts to fit your truth. That's the big difference.
That is exactly what the British ambassador to the U.S. said when he said the Bush administration is creating a scenario in order to fit exactly what they want to do. Will we ever see Bush and Blair as war criminals in the docks?
Absolutely not. First of all, there is no jurisdiction, and most importantly, they are not liable for any war crimes. If anything, they should be hailed as heroes, along with our other coalition partners, including our Middle Eastern partners, for freeing a nation.
Please.
They are heroes. You don't see what they have done.
Heroes?
They are heroes.
This is an insult. This is an
Yes,
insult to humanity. What are you talking about? Heroes? For murdering a million human beings, you call them heroes? I am really distressed to hear talk like this coming from an American who I believe that America is the center of democracy and free speech. You want to tell me that murdering a million human beings makes a human being a hero?
One last comment from you, Brad Blakeman. You heard the ambassador. It's people like you who spun the story, and the results are catastrophe.
The end result is millions, tens of millions of people are free in Iraq. Iraq is a free, independent country, a great ally of the United States, and will be. It'll be a stabilizing influence in the Middle East. God bless the people of Iraq.
That is one story. That is one version. Tens of millions are free. At the same time, the agony and the pain of Iraq will continue for decades to come. A last comment from Hassan Isa. Wrap the show for me.
Because of what the Americans did in Iraq, Iraq is no more one Iraq, and Mr. Blackman is talking about the millions of Iraqis. Now Iraq, actually at least there are 3 to 4 Iraqs. There is in the north the Kurdish Iraq. In the center there is the Sunni Iraq. In the south there is the Shiite Iraq. At least we have 3 Iraqs now, thanks to the American invasion. They split a country that used to be a strong, united Arab country. Now they split it into 3 mini countries, thanks to the American invasion. Now he's talking about Iraqi people. We do not have Iraqi people thanks to your invasion. We have 3 Iraqi people thanks to your invasion.
Ambassador Hassan Isa, Brad Blakeman, gentlemen, thank you for being guests on Inside Iraq.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ghazawi, and thank you, Mr. Blackman.
To watch the show online, please visit our website, aljazeera.net/English. We have reached the end of this show. Join me next week when we take another look inside Iraq. Until then, this is Jassim Azzawi wishing you a fantastic week.